Okay, this is my super short video on, and it actually should be a refresher for you, on how to write decimals in written form. So the first thing we have to do is we have to talk about place value because it's really important in trying to name a decimal. Let's try the number 23.45. Now, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to imagine that there's a wall right here. And where that wall is the word and. So what we're going to do is we're going to put these two together. We're going to do the number on the left, right here, and the number on the right. What's important is you have to know the place value and where each of these numbers is as far as in location. It's important to know that. So when we look at all the numbers on the left-hand side, which is right here, okay, this is our whole numbers. And you're familiar with whole numbers because that's what you've learned from kindergarten. Whole numbers. Okay, everything to the right over here are parts of numbers. And we usually refer to parts of numbers as fractions, but they can also mean a decimal, and that's what we're talking about today. Fractions and decimals. So, let's get right to it. As a review, what we're going to do is we're going to identify each of these numbers and where they are. First is this number 2. You should remember that it is in the tens place. We then have the number 3, and it is in the ones place. But there is no number here where the decimal is, just the word and. So that's really important that you know that that's and. After, we just simply start over. We have no word, there's no word called once. There's no such thing, and it really sounds silly anyway, so there's no such word. So we begin with our, just like on the other side, be 10, but everything to the right of the decimal on this side, I'm going to even write it, everything to the right of the decimal ends in THS. THS. So it's just like our other side. It mirrors actually the other side. So what would come next after tens over here? It would be hundreds, right? So the same thing here. This is hundreds. But not just hundreds, it's hundredths. Okay? All right, so let's take a look at another example. All right, notice here that I have a new number. It's 123.123. I already have my line that divides the left and the right, and I need to write the word and because I know that's what goes right there. So let's go ahead and quickly identify each one of these. I'm going to stop this right now and write them in. All right, I went ahead and wrote it in, and notice that when we start and we look at the left, it's just like what we've learned, our place value, hundreds, tens, ones. And then as we go the opposite direction, someone says if that and is a mirror, that decimal is a mirror, and we go tenths, it's tens with the THS, it's hundreds with the THS. Notice we've been just adding THS here. And then after hundreds, just as it would be on this side right here, is thousands, notice the THS. All right, now, how do we name a decimal? All right, we have the number 13.2, and that's not how we say it. It actually has a real written form. And what we first want to do, and I'm going to go step by step. Step 1 is I want you to look at everything on the left-hand side. I'm going to do it in green. Left-hand side of the decimal. Okay, this right here. And you simply look at the left-hand side, look left of decimal, and read the number. That number is 13, so I'm just going to write 13. TH 13. Okay? And step 2. I then see that we're dealing with the decimal here, so as soon as I see a decimal, I know I'm going to use the word and. Alright, and I already wrote it in there too. And, because we have 13 wholes and a part. So then step 3 is to look at the furthest number. Let me change colors here to orange. You're going to look at the last number on the right. Okay, you're looking at its place value. Look at place value. So what's the place value of the last number? First of all, there's only one last number, and that's the number 2. And its place value is, if you remember from our chart, tenths. So you're going to simply read the number, it's 2, and then you add the whatever place value it is. It happens to be tenths. So the way to read 13.2 is 13 and 2 tenths. All right, let's try this again. Okay, starting with this number, this is 123.123. That's not how we read it. So again, step 1 is we're going to start over here on the left of the decimal, and I'm simply going to read that number. That's 123. So I'm going to write 100 23. Okay, now I've stopped. Remember, I'm going to put in my and. Okay, that's step 2. Step 3 is to look at the number that's the last number on the right. That happens to be 3. It is in the, do you remember what's the place it was? Can you guess? Yes, it's the thousands. Thousands place. Oops, I got things going here. Thousands. So I again read the number 120. It just happens to be the same number was on the right, 23, and it was in the thousands, so I write the word thousands. And it's really as simple as that. Want to try one more? So how you read this that whole decimal number is 123 and 123 thousandths. Let's try one last one. Okay, here's my last example. We have 62.12. Of course, that's not how we read it. So remember, our first step is to identify the whole number that is on the left of the decimal and write that number. This is 62. Okay, now we have 62 and some, so we're going to write the word and because we see that there's a decimal. And finally, we're going to look at step 3 and we're going to identify this number, which is the last number to the right. It is hundredths. Okay, and then we simply say this number. That number is 12 hundredths, and we just add its place value at the very end, just to top things off. So the way you're going to read this number is 62 and 12 hundredths. All right, I think you're ready to do this on your own. Good luck.